No one has it easy. So today's workshop and the others that have been posted at this event hopefully will help you be that 20%, because learning is everything. And I love that. I'm seeing some chat with people's resolutions. Keep it up. When you manifest it and say it aloud, it increases the chances. That's what I've heard. So well done. And to some of you who are going, I don't like to talk about this stuff. I don't want to talk about money even. I just want to do cool things. Then you're not alone. Most of us start off that way. I'm old, but I also used to be young once, and that's what I used to think. But what happens next? That's the question. So that's what I want to share with you today. Let me see if I can go to the next slide. Sharing my slides. I'm going to try and open it on my thing. All right, so that's what I got to do. So let's say, for theory's sake, we divide the total number of resources in the world. We're talking about money here, but it's really an economics question about resources. And let's say all the resources in the world are divided equally among everyone. Or even each country just does this for its citizens. Or let's say just Bill Gates one day decides to give away all his money and spread it evenly among the rest of us. What would happen if we had a baseline and we started that way? Well, unfortunately, economists predict that without education and some discipline, 99 out of 100 will end up losing most of it. And one of you are going to reacquire the rest, probably Bill Gates. It'll all go back to him. So in a book called Art of War, which is a famous book, and it's translated from an ancient text of, I think, 16th century or so, it really talks about knowledge and discipline as matter of life and death. It's a difference between road to safety or road to ruin, personally, for the country, for humanity. So this is serious stuff. Let's start with a baseline. How many of you in general know how much things you use cost? The food you eat, like maybe you've gone grocery shopping, and some of you, since this is an international event, maybe are already young adults. Some of you are my age and you have to learn budgeting at some point. So you might still be not 100% sure of how much onions and milk cost. That little pick me up that we like to get whenever we drive through a Starbucks, we tend to forget that we did not maybe plan to purchase, and it's just become a habit now. The clothes we wear are getting cheaper, but also more expensive in the long run because styles change, we're not getting use out of them. And also sometimes they're not sustainable anymore. They don't last that much. They're not of good quality. Another thing that gets all of us trapped in are subscriptions. It starts off super easy, that Amazon subscribe and save, or that free trial app account, which after 3 months is a whole different story. As young adults, we don't really think about budgeting for medical bills, things like life insurance, accident insurance, disability, housing, car insurance, liability insurance. There's all sorts of risk mitigation strategies, as these are called. But we don't think about them because we don't get sick that often, or our costs are taken care of and we did not really learn. But our ignorance costs us. If productivity drops, if fewer people are in the workforce and more people are busy now with gig economy, then costs creep up in the long run. Technology also creates fewer jobs, but they are better jobs. So that's a good thing. And you could go to college, so you can go get those fewer better jobs. But do you know out of state schools can cost up to $80,000 a year? What else do you know that costs that much without any guarantee that the jobs will be worth that kind of debt? Let's say the average savings for under 35-year-olds is $3,000. I just picked that number up from a Google search. Um, those debts are going to take a long time to pay off if all you're managing is $3,000 savings. But let's say you're lucky and your parents paid for college. Will they also pay for housing and your car and some of these destination weddings that your friends are having? And will they pay for college for your kids as well? If not, it's time to start budgeting. And it's never too early. It can be started by a 3-year-old. And also, I've learned it the hard way, it cannot be mastered overnight either. Now, I want to say that this is not anything radical. And also, I found it interesting that our brains do it, our bodies do it. Basically, budgeting is an estimate of how much we have, how much is incoming, and how to use it. So we have something left over for fun and being creative and relaxing. This is all for a set period of time. So it's basically a spending plan. But I really want to remember that first we got a brain budget. Next, we body budget, and then it's money budget. So what do I mean by that? Neuroscientist Dr. Feldman and others tell us that depression and anxiety and sadness and restlessness are all basically a bankrupt brain. In biology, there's no difference between physical illness and mental illness. So, in layman terms, even if there are happy events happening around us or opportunities, let's say you could go and become a doctor if you wanted to study hard, or get an engineering degree because that pays more money. When we are completely spent, our brains get tired and they shut down and we can't learn, we can't participate. Same with a not so healthy body. When we are sick, the body says rest, sleep, you can't do much else. You spent all your resources. Social media and junk food definitely do not help. But sometimes it's also learned behaviors because of trauma in our childhood or the environments where we grow up in. There's a lot of anxiety there. And it's not fair, but it's real. So it's really hard to think about personal finance when our heads are just not in the right space, our bodies are not functioning properly. So if you find yourself struggling, don't give up. It's not easy. Like I said earlier, we are not alone in this. And I work in cyber, and Gen Z young adults were almost 30% more likely than older adults to losing money to fraud. I was stunned when I saw that. When we do spear phishing campaigns at work, I constantly hear about how the young ones, the young people who have joined our company, tend to click on these phishing target emails more often. Many times, youngsters also report that they didn't even know that they're being scammed. But like I said, we are not alone in this. Some 80% of us will learn the hard way, but we'll still be winners in the long run because learning is everything. Financial freedom was also the top long term goals in this survey of young adults. And that to me is very simply amazing. So, baby step number one. Once we get serious and we say, all right, we got a budget, how do we start? Well, we start with using templates. There are many online, but don't be shy to ask your friends, family, look online, research, and sometimes you just have to try out on your own. Open an Excel sheet or take a old planner book, and I'll be sharing mine that I've used for some time, but everyone's is slightly different. And then once we know how to get serious, we must follow procedure. It's like an engineer building a car. There is a standard operating procedure, and we must all understand it. And for yourself, follow it. Remember, it's not a one and done thing, it takes time. See this column over here with names and dates. So essentially, this is the task. Let's say we log into all our income accounts and check balance weekly. And sometimes it may be a birthday, account that somebody gave us some gifts for birthday. So we collected, we had a job and somebody paid us. We log into uh, the bank account. If it's in the bank account, we open our piggy bank and check. And we check it frequently. But you'll see that sometimes there might be gaps because we didn't get to it. It cannot be mastered overnight. Eventually, it will become a habit. And when you start to see some real money, it'll all be actually even motivating. Until then, you'll just have to suffer through this delayed gratification like the rest of us. And many will fail. And then they'll pick up at some point in their lives. Sooner, the better chance of success. And it feels like a lot. It is in the beginning, but it's also worth remembering the stats on winners and losers. Once we have an idea of how much we are making, it's time to think about how much we are spending. And you can start this the other way around too. Once you figure out how much you need to spend, then you can actually figure out how much you need to earn to be able to spend that. But it also requires active logging, checking, and paying bills when due. I like to have a list of all my recurring expenses in a sheet that I generally put like dates and numbers on, and also log non-recurring expenses. What do I mean by that? Let's say we eat out sometimes we go buy a subscription, or we buy a toy, or a tech gadget. We don't expect to do this every time. So we need to make sure that it is also coming out of a budget. If you do use a credit card or a debit card or an app online, then the company that you use it, the bank or the credit card company, does phenomenal dashboard reporting where you can look to see how much money is going into what activity. So that's also another way. But nothing beats having your own log and written dates and times and sheet. It's never too early to start thinking about retirement. It is sometimes nice when you have savings to automatically transfer to some emergency savings and for vacation. And when you put in this much effort, I think it will help you also determine what is worth spending on and what's not. So that's what I mean by procedure. It's basically a list of tasks, and you have to have a frequency on how quickly or how often you want to do this. And some of this, especially if you're investing versus trading, you don't want to do it frequently. It's a long-term strategy. So you want to leave it there, and then you want to understand some other strategies that will help you invest, like dollar cost average or ladder investment methods. And then you want to kind of like forget about it. If you're a trader, then you have different responsibilities. If you have a job, you have a different worksheet. And if you are a gig economy person, then you will have a lot more work for budgeting and saving for retirement and investing. You have to be even more disciplined so that the money that you work so hard to earn doesn't just disappear. So let's do a reality check here for yourself. How many of us know to write a check? How many of you know how to fill a form at the doctor's office? It is worth understanding what compounding effect means. It can help tremendously grow savings, but it also works similarly devastatingly if you incur debt, because that also compounds. Um, how do banks work? How does credit work? What is credit history? How much money should one have in emergency savings? And it is a real life skill to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody or go into a bank, ask for clarification, or dispute a charge. All of these things are part of our money management skills and personal budgeting and personal finance. I believe a lot of high schools do offer personal finance classes. If not, it's worth investing in a personal finance class because they will be able to have various chapters, and then they can go deep with activities on what is personal financial responsibility, how to budget. Some, I believe, can even tell you which income relates to which career so that you can set expectations, how to manage money, and even entrepreneurship, like how to invest and how to make sure that you can pitch so that you save some for yourself as well as make gains for your company. So that's all I had for today. I just wanted to see if there was interest in this group as we take on the new year to also take our finances seriously. And if you have any questions I can answer, I'm happy to look into it. If I know the answer, I'll let you know right away. If not, I'll look it up and get back to you.
I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be posting the workshop form now. So for all the participants, you guys can fill that out.
So the comment that that's communism is a good one. I'm not an economist, but it's a fair comment. I didn't mean to get into like theories of capitalism versus communism versus socialism, and the extreme form of each is probably not realistic and not and detrimental. I didn't mean to suggest that budgeting is anything related to communism. Uh, but if I did come across as going beyond the realm of personal finance, I apologize. All right, then. Thank you very much. I'll stick around for a little bit more time in case anyone has other questions. But if not, thank you very much for listening to me and good luck with the hackathon.